I'm Errol Barnett in New York. Moments ago, the FBI announced the gunman accused of assassinating activist Charlie Kirk is now in custody, and he's been identified as 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, who was turned in part thanks to cooperation from his family. This morning's press update began a short time ago with remarks from Utah's Governor Spencer Cox.
Now that Charlie Kirk's shooter, Tyler Robinson, is in custody, let's hear the latest update from the Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Now let's dive into the press update.
We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes.
According to report, they say his father turned him in. Critics are wondering whether the family turned him in because of $100,000 reward. The answer to that question will come towards the end of this video. Anyway, let's see how Tyler Robinson was able to escape from the rooftop after the shooting. Let's dive into the next clip.
He was witnessed wearing after firing the shot. He then crossed across the rooftop, which you see in this footage, with a bag, jumped down to the grassy area near the parking lot, and then proceeded to cross a road nearby and head into a wooded area. All of this suggesting prior thought, strategy, and planning before the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Investigators also say that people close to him, his friends and his family, had said that he had become more radicalized and political lately, and talked to them about Charlie Kirk coming to campus, and that in his opinion, in the opinions of this suspect, Charlie Kirk was full of hate.
According to reports from family and friends, they said that the shooter, Tyler Robinson, has recently radicalized with politics. Reports said, in the opinion of the shooter, that Charlie Kirk is full of hate, and he also notified some school authorities that he wouldn't like Charlie to be in their school. But since Charlie came, he took matters into his own hands. Coming up next, let's hear what Scott said about how the governor described Charlie's shooter.
Described this as somebody who had become radicalized or politicized in recent weeks or recent months, and that the family was noticing that, but that it also was the family that got the confession from Tyler Robinson, brought it to clergy, brought it to law enforcement, and ultimately resulted in Tyler Robinson being arrested and jailed in Washington County, Utah. Washington County, Utah, roughly 3 or 4 hours away from Utah Valley University. Tyler Robinson now is being held as a local inmate, but federal charges are imminent. If not today, I'd expect charging documents, criminal information filed over the weekend, Monday morning at the latest. And there'll be a procedure for Tyler Robinson to make a preliminary appearance in court, potentially in both local court and federal court. 2 different cases are brought. And what the governor described is just this series of granular pieces of evidence that would likely be presented to a judge at a detention hearing. The inscriptions, the engravings on the bullet casings, including the words "catch," "fascist," and "Bella Ciao," a message famous in Italy during World War II, during their fight against the Nazis. The 11,000 tips brought in by the feds may include something specific for prosecutors to use, but they have this information about the firearm because they have the firearm, this unique rifle with a scope on top, the bullet casings being distinguishing. And I think it's worth a conversation that these bullet casing engravings, these inscriptions, they are becoming a potential source of copycats. We've seen them in other cases in recent months, and there's fears we see them again in future shootings.
For me, I think that what happened to Erica and her children and also Tyra Robinson's family is so tragic. Only time will heal the pain and suffering both families are going through right now. No, none of them deserve what has happened to them. Anyway, let's hear what Scott has to say about Tyra Robinson views on political toxicity.
The increased political toxicity, increased political violence, and increased death. He used the phrase social media is a cancer. He emphasized those words, that social media is spinning up so much of this hatred and that there may be foreign players involved ginning up Americans through social media channels, which is a bit of a contradiction, though, in this case, because federal law enforcement, the FBI director himself, was using social media as the singular platform to provide updates on this case prior to last night. So there's a contradiction there in what social media should be doing with cases like this. But the FBI director, you heard from him today at the news conference. He credited law enforcement with being expedient in this case, moving, in his words, I think, record time, he said. A 33-hour manhunt is not shorter or longer than any other previous manhunts, but it did result in an arrest in a case that captured the attention of the world.
Now, let's hear from the first person that broke this news. President Trump broke the news of Tyra Robinson arrest at Fox and Friends.
With a high degree of certainty, we have him in custody, right? In custody. Everyone did a great job. We worked with the local police, the governor. Everybody did a great job.
Now, let's hear from Natalie Brent about the president's interest on Charlie Clark's case, the closeness and the friendship he had with him. Over to you, Natalie.
Investment the president had in this case, the closeness, the friendship he had with Charlie Kirk. He's been shaken all week. We've heard that and seen that visibly since this political assassination, and the president pledging to commit federal resources to finding whoever was responsible. This is an assassination, a crime, horrific incident that has shaken this White House and the nation, given the closeness of this relationship. The president this morning on Fox describing Kirk like almost a member of his family. He had a direct line to President Trump as a close advisor, friend, and ally. That's something that started on the campaign trail. Kirk gets a lot of credit for really mobilizing young conservative voters and helping to cement President Trump's second-term win. He also had an extremely close relationship with the vice president, J.D. Vance, so much so that J.D. Vance canceled plans yesterday to appear at a remembrance for 9/11 at Ground Zero and instead fly to Salt Lake City and retrieve Kirk's body. In light of this breaking development today, he posted on social media, "This is a big breakthrough, and everyone who helped, from the law enforcement professionals to the people giving tips, deserves our credit and gratitude. In some ways, the investigation is still in the early days, but I do believe we have the shooter in custody." He goes on to say a prayer for Erica Kirk and those two beautiful babies. Of course, Kirk leaves behind a wife and two young children. Vance spent time with them yesterday when he traveled from Utah to Arizona on Air Force Two. Kirk is from Arizona. That is where he will be laid to rest. And the president also confirming that he will be attending his funeral.
Important to note that, too, his proximity to the president. He was thought of as a family member to this president, and we've heard so many stories about that. But highlight what we just heard from the governor of Utah there, Spencer Cox, because I can tell you that we've been on Capitol Hill the past several days talking to lawmakers about what should be the response, how can you tone down the rhetoric, and we really haven't seen many leaders rise to this occasion. And we did see Governor Cox provide an example of some much-needed leadership there. He delivered the facts of the case. He grieved this tragedy and recognized that grief, and also called upon our better angels. And I just want to read a quote from what he said today. This is an attack on all of us, an attack on the American experiment, an attack on our ideals. This cuts to the very foundation of who we are, who we have been, and who we could. He offered a bit of advice that I think all of us can take, should take, which is log off, go touch grass, hug a family member. And I think that is what so many, not only in Washington, are feeling, but across the country, people who have felt so connected to this person, either from social media, from a public perspective, or didn't have any connection to him at all, and are just grieving a horrific shooting at a time that it just feels like this happens too often and shouldn't happen again. And I think the governor really spoke to a range of emotions that people are feeling across this country as a family has lost a father, has lost a husband, a son, and I think the governor is someone to watch as we move forward in the lack of real politics kind of taking hold here. He noted that there is an off-ramp if we choose to take it. It's a choice.
Thank you, Kirtland, for your additional insight on what Natalie just said about President Trump's relationship and how he considered Charlie Kirk as family. Also, thank you for analyzing what the Utah governor said. He believed that this is a turning point in the United States. But the reality of that is up to the American people to decide. Now, the 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, accused of assassinating conservative activist Charlie Kirk, is now in custody. Do you agree with the Utah governor, Spencer Cox, that this is a turning point for the United States? Let me know what you think on the comment section. At the end of the day, don't forget to do what, comment, like, and share this video. Until next time, and I thank you for watching.